Welcome back to Season 2 of NYC School Secrets. We're adopting a new format this season. Coming up in just a few minutes, all the latest NYC school news, from pre-K to high school and everything in between. And more importantly, what does that news mean to you? Plus, make sure you stay tuned for our exclusive interview with Frances Queller of Queller Test Prep. She'll offer tips on how to prep for the specialized high school admissions test. You probably know it as the SHSAT. What to do if you've got a year to get ready or just a couple of weeks. I'm Alina Adams, author of the books Getting into NYC Kindergarten and the brand new Getting into NYC High School. Both are available on Amazon and barnesandnoble.com. This episode of NYC School Secrets is brought to you by Baby Fingers, a sign language and music program for babies, children, families, and educators throughout the city. Visit Baby Fingers online at mybabyfingers.com. So, what's in the news this week? Hunter College Elementary School, NYC's top K-12 school for the gifted, has made their applications available online. In the past, parents had through December to submit their application and get their child tested by a Hunter-approved psychologist. You can learn all about the process and your odds of getting in by listening to last year's podcast about Hunter College Elementary admissions. It's episode number 2. I'll give you a hint about the odds, though. 2,500 kids take the test, and only 50 get in for kindergarten. This year, however, applications are due in November. What does this mean to you? Because your child's score hinges on what day you sign them up for the test, some serious strategies in order. On my website, www.nycschoolsecrets.com, I built a calculator to help parents figure out the optimal test date for their child based on the child's birth date. Go to www.nycschoolsecrets.com, click on Calculator, and see what the best date is for you. It also works to figure out private school and public school gifted and talented test dates, which is just in time, too, as the DOE announced that request for testing forms, called RFTs, for public school G&T programs will be available sometime in mid-October and will all be due on Monday, November 14th. 2 things to remember about that. 1, even though the forms are due in November of 2016, your child will not actually be tested until January of 2017. The birth date calculator is set to take that into consideration. And 2, nearly every single year, the DOE sets a deadline for forms to be due, and then it inevitably extends it. So though the date today is November 14th, it is very likely to change. Also in the news this week, the NYC Department of Education has released an NYC School Finder app to help families with their high school search. It's basically the same high school guide that they already distribute in paper and electronic form, but now it's searchable using keywords like location, size, special programs, admissions criteria, etc. What does this mean to you? Well, in theory, it should make finding high schools you're interested in easier. But in practice, a guidance counselor of my acquaintance calls the print edition the Big Book of Lies. Parents should never blanketly trust the information offered. For one thing, there are a bunch of errors in every edition. For another, you should always, always, always visit a school and see for yourself if reality matches the public relations. You can find this latest mobile-friendly tool by going to schoolfinder.nyc.gov. Other headlines. New York State lawmakers are trying to pass a bill to compel NYC public schools to serve kosher and halal meals to students who ask for them. My oldest son goes to public school. I make him pack his own lunch. I give him a budget and he has to make it last for a month, though he regularly begs me for money to eat outside. According to him, even the free lunch kids refuse to eat school lunch. So I don't know if this will make much of a difference. And if your child drinks water at school, turns out those tests that claimed it was lead-free back in the summer may have been premature. Advocates assert the testing doesn't meet standards, and a lot more schools turned out to have lead in the water. So if you've got kids in public school, maybe you want to keep them from both eating and drinking for a while. Finally, everybody knows the drill by now. Each year, as soon as the SHSAT results come out, the mayor, the Department of Ed, and the New York Times are once again shocked by the low number of Black and Latino students accepted to the top specialized schools, especially Stuyvesant and Bronx Science. This year, the DOE launched 6 new initiatives to try and increase those numbers. One program involved identifying academically promising rising 8th graders from underserved schools and giving them a summer of intensive test prep. Though budgeted for 500 students, the DOE was only able to recruit around 300, but don't worry, they still proclaimed the program a triumph, even though none of the kids have so much as taken the SHSAT yet, much less gotten a high enough score to qualify for a specialized high school. In the meantime, private prep continues as we approach the October SHSAT test date. After the break, we'll talk to Frances Queller of Queller Test Prep to find out what you should be doing right now to prepare. We'll be right back.
Dance with me and jump with me and I'll play with you. That's what we'll do, we'll sing together too. Sing and sign with us, mybabyfingers.com.
We're back and we're talking about specialized high schools. Every year, over 30,000 8th graders take the test. About 4,000 of them are offered a spot at one of the city's specialized high schools, which include Stuyvesant, Bronx Science, Brooklyn Tech, Staten Island Tech, the High School for Math, Science, and Engineering at City College, Brooklyn Latin, Queens High School for the Sciences at York College, and the High School of American Studies at Lehman College. Specialized high schools don't care about your grades, they don't care about your state test scores, they don't care about your attendance, and they don't care about your extracurricular activities. All they care about is your score on the SHSAT. The higher the score, the more likely you are to get into your first choice high school. I spoke with Frances Queller, a lawyer, as well as founder and director of Queller Test Prep. I asked for her top test prep tips. Here's what she said.
Hi, Frances. Welcome to New York City School Secrets.
Hi, how are you, Lena? Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. We want to jump just right into this conversation, so let's start with the very basic. What is the SHSAT?
This test helps students get into specialized high schools. There's an examination given to New York City public school and private school students who are interested in entering one of the elite New York City specialized high schools. The test consists of a verbal section and a math section, and it's given mainly at the end of October.
How does Queller Prep recommend that 8th graders get ready to take this test?
It's very common that students prepare for this exam the summer before the test. It's rare for someone to start studying in September and then jump into the exam for October. It's simply not enough time. A lot of Queller Prep kids actually start 6 months to a year before the test so that they can get a great grasp of the types of questions and format and content of the exam.
So what types of questions and formats are on the exam?
There's one section where you have to unscramble paragraphs. There's another section on logical reasoning, which is similar to the LSAT for law school entry, believe it or not. There's advanced math. The SHSAT will test a full 8th grade math curriculum, even though the kids taking this exam are starting 8th grade.
So they're actually testing material that the kids haven't learned yet?
A lot of kids have not learned this material, correct? And they've certainly not learned how to unscramble a paragraph or how to go through logical reasoning. A lot of this material is not taught in school. It may be taught the math component, but that's generally applies to students who are very advanced in math. It's rare a student who's not in an accelerated math class in school will have been exposed to these types of test questions.
So what do you do at Queller Prep to get kids ready for these kind of questions and all the questions that they'll face on the SHSAT?
You know, we obviously teach to the test. That's the most important thing. So we start with the test questions. There are real released SHSAT exams, and they're given out for free. They're booklets. We teach the students from the test questions, and then we go backwards from there. So that's how we gauge what the kids really need to work on. We give diagnostic test after diagnostic test so that we can see exactly what areas they've learned and haven't learned in school. That's why we want to make sure that kids start very early so they can adequately prepare for this exam.
So what's very early? What would be your ideal time period? If you could tell someone this is the best sort of month-by-month schedule to get ready for the SHSAT, what would you tell families?
If you want to guarantee your acceptance into a specialized high school, you have to know, and you have to be realistic, having a 99 average in your middle school is not enough. With that being said, my ideal candidate, someone who I'm so thrilled to take into Queller Prep, is someone who joins SHSAT Prep the summer after 6th grade. Mm-hmm. That student is now going to have a full year to prepare for this exam, and that student gets in. Those are the people who take the exam very seriously, very calmly. I mean, they've just been exposed to every single type of test question, and they get in.
Now, when you say a whole year, is that every day? Is it once a week? What kind of schedule is it?
The general scheduling, and this is very common, this is common at my prep school, and I'm aware it's very common in other prep schools, we use break time. So over the summer, Queller Prep offers a full-time camp where the kids go 4 days a week, and it's 4 hours a day, and it's their summer. It runs from July 5th to August 17th. Then they take that. It's a full-time camp. They're exposed to a solid 8 to 10 SHSAT exams. They've taken diagnostic tests. At the end of the summer, shortly after Labor Day, they return. They return once a week for the fall season, once a week for the spring, and then again they spend the full summer preparing for the exam. Now they're at a higher level. So keeping that in mind, after that there's an extension. They meet once a week. Alina, there's simply no time to prepare for this test during the school year. It's not realistic to think that you can cram everything in when you're starting 8th grade.
So now, of course, I'm going to have to ask the question, a year is optimal. It's not realistic, but what tips do you have for maybe a kid who hasn't started prepping yet and the test is in a little over a month? What can they
have to prioritize what's at the top of your pyramid. And if the SHSAT is not at the top a month before that test, you shouldn't be taking the test. Okay. The SHSAT should be the number one thing going on in your life for 1 month before this exam.
So you're basically saying that with just a few weeks left, even getting the prep books or practicing isn't going to be enough?
It helps. It helps to supplement what you've hopefully already learned. And the best suggestion I can make for someone who is new to SHSAT prep, truthfully, I mean, you have to prioritize, do the exams, do the questions, but the stress of preparing for this exam, and Alina, I didn't even get into the college tour, the high school tours. Mm-hmm. These kids are bombarded with tours and placement exams, and, a lot of schools have independent testing, such as BARD entry. Can you imagine, on top of all of that, you're going to study for the SHSAT? I don't really think a month before is realistic. Mm-hmm. With that being said, if you only have a month, I mean, Queller Prep offers a program on Columbus Day, actually Monday. It's a 6-hour class. That's a nice way to boost your test performance. You come in for 3 hours, take the test, we take a break, and then we do the review. So with breaks, in total, it's 6 hours for the course. That's one way, but I can't really imagine any other way to allocate your time so that you prepare. An ideal candidate for the SHSAT is someone who's taken a solid 15 to 20 diagnostic tests, has a clear picture of how he or she is scoring, and has prepared over several months, not several weeks. This is not the type of test where you prepare for 2 weeks and just walk in and take it.
Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate your information, and thank you so much for being with us today.
So that's the expert opinion. Now I'd like to share my personal experience. My son is currently a senior at Stuyvesant. He did not get a tutor or take a class to prep for the SHSAT. What he did do, however, was buy a bunch of prep books and take a practice test every single day of the summer before 8th grade. He said it was the worst summer of his life. I assured him he was young. He still had lots of horrible summers to look forward to. The important thing to remember is that the reason my son was able to make do with just prep books was because he knew the material. All he had to do was learn the format of the test. As you heard Francis say, only a few schools cover the material that's on the SHSAT prior to 8th grade. If you try to prep for the test without first knowing the fundamentals, it won't work. And the standard NYC public school curriculum is not lined up with the questions on the SHSAT. I go into greater detail in my book, Getting into NYC High School, so you can read more there. Frances had over 300 students enrolled in her SHSAT prep program this summer. And to repeat, she's offering a one-day SHSAT crash course over Columbus Day. That's October 11th. Learn more and register at quellerprep.com. That's it for today. We'll be back next week when we'll be talking about proposed elementary school rezoning on the Upper West Side. There is now a third plan in play, as well as problems at LaGuardia High School. That's the one specialized high school you don't need the SHSAT for, and all the latest NYC school news as it comes up. I'm Alina Adams, and my books, Getting into NYC Kindergarten and Getting into NYC High School, are available at Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com. In addition, I'll be giving my Getting into NYC Kindergarten workshop at Manhattan Twins Club on Monday, September 19th, and I'll be moderating a kindergarten admissions panel on Wednesday, October 5th at the new Basis School in Manhattan. Hope to see you there.